And suddenly, in the dark, in the silence, a crackling as he rode in on his black stallion. The dark night was here, and he wasn't playing games. My body began to shiver, and my mind scrambled like spaghetti of the mind. The words, sounds, light, everything was a swirl. And there was a thundering in my chest and a boiling in my gut. And my feet, my hands, my body broke out in a diaphoretic river. Then the nausea came afoot. Then the fear, an overwhelming fear and sadness struck me. And there was nothing I could do. I would breathe, I would sigh, I would try all of my usual methods of meditation, of relaxing. I even told myself, go take a nap. But then I just disappeared. I disappeared from the world, and the world disappeared from my sights. All I could do was see it, the blackness, the emptiness, the nothingness of myself, as I no longer existed. And yet, this powerful emotional cascade, frenzied thoughts, and overwhelming sense of pain throughout my body, which wasn't even present anymore, just rippled through and kept pulsating through my chest, though I wasn't here, until I realized the voice inside as it guided me to stop clinging to my body, stop clinging to my thoughts, stop clinging to the dark night of the soul, to untether myself. And then I took a long, deep breath, splashed water on my face as I come to gaze at myself in the mirror, and I wasn't there. But as the screen fluctuated and particularized, then I realized the sense of abandonment had come to talk to me. And I was experiencing the most intense dark night of the soul, which was a combination of two shadow elements, fear and abandonment, which sat me down. This experience was shocking for me because I've been through many dark nights of the soul in these past years. This one, quite intense, unexpected, while I'm stable, as I've already gone through quite a bit and feel really whole. So I wanted to make this video to share some of the signs of the dark night of the soul and the origins and how to perhaps preempt a dark night of the soul so that we're not stuck in that deep, dark space. Okay? So some signs of the dark night of the soul include feeling like your emotional landscape is in uncharted territory, experiencing intense emotions that seem to come out of nowhere or from the depths of your being, grappling with extreme feelings such as sadness, okay? And then some tips are what we're going to discuss throughout this video, but which include getting educated about the dark night of the soul, surrendering and trusting the process, seeking help outside of YouTube or any other videos to address anything that's more serious that cannot be controlled. Because I tell you, when your emotions and your hormones are kicked up, it's an out of world, otherworldly kind of feeling with these intense dark nights of the soul. Okay, so give yourself permission to be there right where you are. Okay, talk to someone, stay in touch with people who love you, and meditate. Okay, and do your shadow work. And that bridges me into the next segment. The concept of the dark night of the soul is a profound and transformative experience often discussed in spiritual and metaphysical context. Here is a detailed exploration of its origins, explanation, triggers, and significance. The origins of the dark night of the soul was 16th century poem written by Saint John of the Cross, a Spanish mystic. The poem was called La Noche Oscura del Alma. Saint John of the Cross was a Carmelite friar and a major figure in the Counter-Reformation, known for his deep spiritual writings and poetry. The poem describes the soul's journey through the darkness to reach the light of divine union, symbolizing a spiritual crisis leading to enlightenment. The dark night of the soul is a metaphorical period of spiritual desolation, doubt, and emptiness. It is characterized by a profound sense of loss, confusion, and a feeling of being disconnected from the divine or one's spiritual path. This experience is often seen as a necessary phase of spiritual growth, where the soul is purged of attachments and illusions to reach a higher state of consciousness. And so when we look at this explanation of the dark night of the soul, we can see clearly that our entire existence in this era of humanity has been a dark night of the soul, because we've been disconnected through ritual, through programming, and through a disconnect from nature, just based on how we live on a day-to-day basis. And the dark night of the soul in our personal individual, that was for the collective, but as an individual person, we start to awaken to these things, and we may get a call or a trigger to help us see, okay, we are disconnected as a being. There's something not right here. We may have an uneasy feeling, an anxious feeling. We may wake up in the middle of the night and suddenly need to go outside. That's what happened to me. Okay, so here are some triggers for the dark night of the soul. Major life changes or crisis, such as a loss of a loved one, a serious illness, or a significant life transition. For me, it was the lockdown. Something in that kind of made me feel like, what's going on? I just felt this panic, and I got this call. And actually, it began maybe almost a year before it was announced. It was something stirring, and I could feel it. And it coincided with the death of my sister. So I guess there was a major life challenge at that time. Yeah. Okay. So just to continue, there's a deep yearning for spiritual growth or a sense of dissatisfaction with one's current spiritual state. Intense periods of meditation or spiritual practice can bring along unresolved issues to the surface, which can trigger a dark night of the soul. A spontaneous awakening or shift in consciousness that challenges existing beliefs or perceptions. What is the significance, though, of the dark night of the soul? The significance is that it holds great potential for us to awaken from this paradigm, to awaken from the programmed self, the I am that we think we are, any beliefs that are holding us into this ritualized existence. And it can help us to break free of the various masks that we've worn, which has concealed the truth of what's here and what we are. The dark night of the soul is often seen as a rite of passage leading to a deeper understanding of oneself and the universe. It encourages the release of ego-driven desires and attachments, fostering a more authentic connection with the divine. This experience can lead to profound personal transformation, increased empathy, and a greater sense of purpose. It's a reminder that the spiritual growth often involves facing and integrating one's shadow aspects, leading to a more holistic and enlightened state of being. And it doesn't mean necessarily healing these things. It means facing them and integrating as part of us, something we can hold as us. Embracing then the dark night of the soul with patience and openness can ultimately lead to a more profound and fulfilling spiritual journey. According to Jung, and I quote, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's consciousness, the blacker and denser it is." 1938. Jung suggested that the shadow can appear in dreams or visions and may take a variety of forms. It may appear as a snake, a monster, a demon, a dragon, or some other dark, wild, or exotic figure. This archetype is often described as the darker side of the psyche, representing wildness, chaos, and the unknown. The concept of the shadow and the practice of shadow work are deeply rooted in Jungian psychology and have profound implications for personal and spiritual development. As we explore these concepts, we will look deeper into who we are, how we can use our birth date and our Enneagram to delve deeper into our shadow. So this is a 3-part series. Some concepts are exploring the origins of the shadow, the significance, and the transformative potential they hold for us. So first, let's start with the definition. The shadow. The shadow refers to the unconscious parts of the psyche that consists of repressed, avoided, or denied aspects of oneself. These can include weaknesses, negative emotions, undesirable impulses, and past traumas that we might feel or find shameful and unacceptable. The shadow's not inherently negative, though. It simply represents the parts of ourselves that we have not yet brought to our conscious awareness. It's a repressed portion of us. The origins. The concept of the shadow was extensively developed by Carl Gustav Jung, who was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded analytical psychology. Jung introduced the idea of the shadow as part of his broader exploration of the human psyche. Jung's work on the shadow was influenced by his studies in the early 20th century, particularly during the 1910s and 1920s, as he sought to understand the complexities of the unconscious mind. So the concepts of the shadow, dark and light, along with their influences on archetypes, are integral to understanding the complexities of the human psyche and personal development. So let's explore some of these. The shadow, as I mentioned before, represents the unconscious part of the psyche, which consists of repressed, avoided, and denied aspects of oneself, which are weaknesses, emotional turmoil, undesirable impulses, and the like. Okay, it's that part of us that we resist. It's the part of us that resists our conscious wish to be perfect. So in striving to be perfect, we repress these things into our shadow. That's why it doesn't only appear as dark. It can also appear as the light. For example, if you were into trying to be an artist or something positive, perhaps, and you were constantly feeling like you couldn't live up to the expectation, you will repress that desire within yourself and do the opposite thing. So that light and lovely something is repressed as part of your shadow. Okay? Because the shadow embarrasses us in a way, right? And it's a projection onto others, making it difficult for us to integrate and find it as our own, such that that's why we project what we feel outwards. Okay. So the dark part of the shadow. The dark refers to the hidden, often feared aspects of the psyche that are associated with the shadow. It encompasses the emotional patterns and unacceptable forces that threaten our personal lives and interactions with the outer world. This darkness is not inherently negative. Rather, it offers unique insights into unresolved conflicts, fears, and unfulfilled expectations that reside within us. The light aspect. The light symbolizes the conscious, aware aspects of the self that are aligned with positive attributes, virtues, and the pursuit of personal growth and enlightenment. It represents the part of ourselves that we are proud of and wish to cultivate, often in contrast to the shadow. So again, some of those lighter aspects of ourselves become the shadow when we're not feeling that we're good enough at them. But our lighter side, the side we present to the world, our mask per se, that we show to the world, are those things that we felt accomplished at and can also help guide us towards enlightenment. Okay. And so the archetypes and their influence. And again, this is just an introduction to the 3-part series, and we'll So I'm introducing the highlights of what's going to be expounded upon in further detail in the next two segments, which are the next two videos. But to continue, the archetypes and their influence. Archetypes are universal symbols or patterns that reside within the collective unconscious, influencing behavior and experiences. They include figures like the hero, the mother, the sage, and the shadow itself. The shadow archetype in particular plays a crucial role in personal integration. Each Enneagram program reflects a different version of the shadow, highlighting the unique challenges and growth opportunities for each personality type. Okay, for example, the shadow might manifest as envy in a 4, or as struggle with personal weaknesses in an 8. And these Enneagram numbers are based on your birthday. Okay, and there's 9 of them. Recognize, and we'll get into that in more detail in the following videos. Recognizing and owning these shadow aspects is essential for transformation and healing. The interplay between shadow, dark, and light affects how archetypes are expressed in our lives. By integrating the shadow, individuals can achieve a more balanced and authentic expression of their archetypical patterns, leading to personal and spiritual growth. And I would like to also mention healing. When I say healing, I'm meaning not healing like you don't need to seek out healthcare, or you don't need to seek out mental health, or someone, a psychoanalyst perhaps, or a social worker, a psychologist, whatever there is you have access to. What I'm talking about is actually radical acceptance of self as a bridge to becoming the fullness that you've come here to be. Okay. So how does shadow work fit in with your dark night of the soul, right? Okay, but let's first give a definition of what is shadow work. So shadow work is the process of confronting and integrating these unconscious parts of oneself. It involves acknowledging and understanding the origins and influences of these disowned aspects, allowing them to be brought into conscious awareness. The practice is critical for healing, as unresolved shadow elements can unconsciously drive thoughts and behaviors, often leading to self-sabotage and emotional distress. And again, when we do our shadow work, the point is to face these things, acknowledge them, maybe write them down, and integrate those things that we've repressed into being more of our authentic self. The process. Shadow work typically involves self-reflection, introspection, and therapeutic practices that encourage individuals to explore their inner world. Techniques may include journaling, meditation, therapy, creative expression, okay, such as music, art, dance, etc. The goal is to integrate the shadow into the conscious self, reducing its unconscious control and fostering a more balanced and authentic sense of self. Okay, and so what is self-reflection to you? To me, self-reflection is the ability to own what I'm embarrassed about. Like, if I'm having a bad hair day because I've had issues with hair, I've had hair traumas, and so many people have had different sorts. That may seem silly to someone, but that's a serious one for me. And if I go out and I don't have my hair together, then I might have to just own it and realize this is the hair I've been given. This should be a source of joy and love for me. It is part of me. It's nothing to hide. It's nothing to be fearful of, that someone may see it or comment or whatever. It's one of those, right? Or it could be anything else. You might have large feet on a small frame. And because I know people like that who are definitely afraid of letting someone see their toes because they feel like they don't have beautiful toes. And that's just the physical part of our shadow work. Other things could be me. I remember that I was always kind of embarrassed that I was a little bit mean, and I would try to act nicer and pretend to be so sweet or kindergarten teacher like. And then I had to own the fact that, okay, this is my personality. And I don't have to go out and hurt anybody, but I had to self-reflect and say, I've always been this way. I've always been pretty blunt. I've always been able to call out bullshit when I see it. And that's a gift. It's nothing to be repressed about. It's nothing for me to feel shame about, even though I was shamed for being so mean. Instead, I integrated that into being able to stand up for the underdog. I've used that to help me overcome some of my fears, and I still have a lot of work to do. But that's just one respect of self-reflection. And again, we could talk about introspection and therapeutic practices later on down the road in probably the part 3 video. Okay? And so what we're calling healing here is what we're going to continue just to term it as healing, but you know what I mean by that is facing and integrating, all right? So healing and integrating. By facing the shadow, individuals can heal past wounds and release the grip of unconscious patterns. This integration leads to greater self-awareness, self-resilience. The shadow work also allows one to embrace the totality of their being. You can become whole, including both light and dark aspects, leading to a more harmonious and empowered existence. Okay. So another benefit to doing our shadow work is spiritual growth. Engaging in shadow work is often seen as a vital step in spiritual development and encourages individuals to transcend the ego and connect with their true essence, fostering a deeper understanding of themselves and their place in the universe. This process can be transformative, leading to profound personal growth and a more authentic connection with the divine. Okay? Shadow work plays a significant role in influencing the experience of the dark night of the soul, as it involves the exploration and integration of the unconscious aspects of oneself. The next video, I'll discuss how we can integrate dreams and exploration of our lucid dreams and the archetypes or symbols that we see within our dreamscapes to help us understand further our shadow. And then I have planned to release the video regarding the Enneagram, which can help us to identify different archetypes in our life and in our personal experiences with other people. We could explore further, if you'd like, certain techniques to assist on this path as well, such as meditation, journaling, dream journaling, mirror work, and also using crystals and things like that. These are also resonators for our own energies. But the most important thing that we can do to be sound and solid in our dark night of the soul or shadow work, or the combination of the two, like I tried to introduce in this video, would be to recognize, yes, that we do have shadow work to be done. And two, in doing our shadow work, we can avoid a lot of the pitfalls of having a sudden dark night of the soul, which could take us off our path a bit. And sometimes that can't be helped. And it's important for us to have this conversation. And if you have any experiences with these topics, please share them below. It would definitely help me for sure. And it would definitely help others who may not have anywhere to turn and come to this video by chance and read your comment and resonate deeply with it. And that's what we're here for. We're here to resonate what we're going through and try to articulate some of the meanings that it's given to us in our lives to help others as we all grow.